You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network.
There's a team that's in our hearts. We've got love that won't depart. We are always in the stands, 'cause we're super Dolphin fans. Football is mighty rough. Winning gets awful tough. We're rooting for the Dolphins. Our mighty, mighty Dolphins. We're rooting for the Dolphins. Our mighty, mighty Dolphins.
Hello, Miami Dolphin fans, and welcome to the Same Old Dolphin Show, part of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network. I'm Josh Katzker. With me today and every day is my brother from the exact same mother, Aaron the Brain. Aaron, say hello to the people.
Hello to the people.
Brain, it is so good to be back with you, doing another episode of the Same Old Dolphin Show. We only have 3 games left in the season, in all likelihood, and I say we just enjoy them. You know, I say we might as well just make the best out of this, because I don't know about you, but soon maybe we're going to be wishing we had meaningful Dolphins football games to watch.
Well, we haven't enjoyed the first 14 games, so maybe we just need to make up for it and enjoy the last 3 now that we have nothing to play for. I guess.
Well, I mean,
technically they've got something to play for, but you know,
do have something to play for. Technically, literally, appropriately, they do have something to play for in this game. So it's there, and it's going to be, you know, we know for a fact that by the time this game kicks off, they will still have something to play for. And depending on how results go elsewhere, they could have a lot to play for. So who knows? There's actually a world where by the time the Dolphins kick off their Week 17 game against Cleveland, they actually control their own destiny. But we're not going to get into that. We're going to talk about what's happening this week. But before we do that, a reminder to you, if you're not doing so already, to make sure you're following us. You can follow me at Amplified to Rock. He is at Aaron the Brain. That's at Aaron the Brain. You can follow him on Twitter. I am at Blue Sky. The show is in both places at Same Old Dolphins. Visit DolphinsTalk.com each and every day. It's your one-stop shop for all things Miami Dolphins. Take a moment, if you will, right now, smash the like button on this video. Everybody, real quick, just go ahead, smash the like button on the video you're watching. Smash the like button. Go ahead. Thank you. We appreciate that. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel and download, rate, review, and subscribe to the Same Old Dolphin Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, everywhere you get your podcasts. We appreciate it very much. And if you are not yet a member of Dolphins Talk Extra, it's not too late to subscribe. Head to patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. We're going to be doing a live watch along on Sunday of Dolphins 49ers, exclusively live during the game for Dolphins Talk Extra subscribers. So if you have not subscribed yet, you can do so for as little as $3 a month at patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. And not only do you get access to the watch along, you get access to our bonus segment that we're going to do right after this tonight. And you'll also get access to the Discord and all of the other great things that we've got going on over there at Dolphins Talk Extra. So come on over and sign up. Brain, here we go. Dolphins, 49ers. You better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. You know why? Shanny Claus is coming to town.
Oh no.
Yeah, Shanny Claus. He's coming to town.
No.
Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, and the San Francisco 49ers are coming to town for a game that doesn't really mean anywhere near as much as we would have thought or hoped earlier in the year. But regardless, they're still coming. And guess who's coming with them? Tony Romo and Jim Nantz on the call for the big nationwide broadcast. It's an interesting game because I think in a lot of ways the San Francisco 49ers are a kind of a mirror to the Dolphins. this year. They've had a lot of injuries. They've had injury troubles, and as a result have really not really clicked into gear the way that they would have hoped. And now they find themselves like, if you thought the Dolphins playoff chances were like almost non-existent, the 49ers are actually worse. I think the only way the 49ers make the postseason is if they win out and the Rams lose out, which seems unlikely at this point. So it's been a kind of a disaster of a year for the 49ers, and now they're going into the offseason and trying to decide what they want to do with Brock Purdy and his contract and that whole situation. It's a real mess out there in San Francisco. But they're going to come in here, and they're going to come in here to this game against the Dolphins with something to prove, because it is, it's one of those games that if they've got any hope left, and they do have technically some, although I guess there is a world where they can be eliminated before this game kicks off, but the results that they need to happen there are not likely. So anyway, I think it's going to be an interesting one. Brain, without getting into the details of what the game is going to be and what is going to happen on either side of the ball, what are your kind of general thoughts looking ahead to Dolphins 49ers on Sunday?
I do think it's interesting to compare these two teams because they are linked in several ways. The obvious link is the coaching tree, where, Mike McDaniel was an assistant for several years under Mike Shanahan. So there's that. There's also, the big trade that was made a few years back when the Dolphins had, I think it was like the number 6, or they had the number 3 pick, and then they traded back with Philadelphia and then traded up with San Francisco. So, the fact that both teams are linked in that way is interesting. The fact that both teams have quarterbacks that at different times have been underrated, and it seems like at different times have been overrated and seem to be in the same tier of quarterbacks, Brock Purdy and Tua Tagovailoa. There's that element of it as well. Yet somehow, and also this season, with both teams being 6-8 and likely on the outside looking in, having disappointing seasons, they have that in common as well. But I think that's kind of where the similarities end, because I think when you look at these two teams, for as much as they have in common with their offensive philosophy, their coaching philosophy, their quarterback play, one team is substantially more physical and has been built to be has put a lot more emphasis on the meat and potatoes of their roster in the trenches than the other. And while this year, both teams have kind of been in the same boat, the last couple of years, this is obviously a San Francisco team that has played for Super Bowls, whereas the Dolphins have yet to win a playoff game. And so I think that distinction, to me, when I think of the Dolphins and the 49ers and I think of the ways that they're linked, ultimately I always come back to the ways that they're different. And the reason why I think San Francisco, even in a down year, feels like a team that on any given year can be Super Bowl caliber, whereas the Dolphins just haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And when you look at the 49ers trajectory, it's been filled with the years that they've been good, they've been really good. And when the years that they haven't been good, they've been bad enough to get good draft picks. And they've been able to turn that into something, which is something that, well, the Dolphins have largely not been able to take advantage of fully anyway. Well, let's look into the matchup, Brain, and let's start, I think, with the area that I think is the place that we have to start with, which is the Dolphins offense, which is coming off of that bad performance against Houston, how they match up with this San Francisco defense. Now, the San Francisco defense got a big boost last week, at least in the first half of that game against the Rams, with the return of Dre Greenlaw. The week before that, they also got Nick Bosa back, and those two guys make a significant difference on that defense. And we saw that in the second half of last week's game against the Rams when Dre Greenlaw exited the game. The defense took a big step back. Looking at the injury report on Thursday, Nick Bosa, this is an interesting one. Bosa went from being a limited participant in practice on Wednesday to a DNP on Thursday. I am still going with the idea that he is going to be active for the game on Sunday. But there is a question. I mean, there's also a question about Greenlaw, who has been limited both days after he exited the game last week. But Rain, and typically you say, well, are two of those players going to make a big enough difference? With those two players being as impactful as they are, I think it could be something as simple as whether or not those two guys plays could inform how much success the Dolphins are going to have on Sunday.
I mean, it is huge. I mean, you're talking about Nick Bosa's, perennially in the all-pro conversation as far as edge rushers, and Dre Greenlaw is one of two really, really good linebackers on this San Francisco roster, the other one being Fred Warner. If he's out, the linebacker situation in San Francisco is, you've got Devondre Campbell on suspension, Curtis Robinson on IR, Tatum Bethune on IR. They don't have a lot of depth at that position. So if Greenlaw doesn't play, then I think they are susceptible there. And so it would be a big loss, and it would potentially be a place where the Dolphins could take advantage of that matchup.
Yeah, so that's probably, I think, the biggest thing that I want to take a look at. I mean, this San Francisco defense otherwise has just been kind of a mess this year. PFN has them ranked kind of towards the middle of the league in their defense plus, metric. And as you look at this, that should theoretically, the passing game should theoretically be an area where the Dolphins can succeed in this game. The question is genuinely about whether they're actually going to be able to. So I don't know, Brain, is there anything, if Nick Bosa and Greenlaw go, where do you think is the way that the Dolphins are going to have success? Is it going to be through perhaps the running game? And we're getting hints and whispers out of Miami Dolphins camp that Liam Eichenberg may in fact have lost his starting job, and we might be getting Isaiah Wynn back in that guard position, who, it wasn't that long ago. It was last season that when Isaiah Wynn was in at that left guard position opposite Robert Hunt at right guard, this Miami Dolphin rushing attack was not just good, it was great.
Well, I mean, Liam Eichenberg, if you want to look, like, there were so many problems with that offensive line in that Houston game. Obviously, Jackson Carman was the biggest issue. Like, he could not block anybody. But Liam Eichenberg was routinely getting pushed back 3-4 yards into the backfield, like just about every play. It was a disaster.
I mean, he was totally brutalized.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I guess if Isaiah Wynn is healthy and ready to go, that should be an upgrade. My bigger question, though, is if Kendall Lamb is going to be playing in this game. Because if we have Jackson Carman playing and Patrick Paul and Nick Bosa is playing in this game, it's going to be a disaster. And frankly, I don't know if it matters if it's Kendall Lamb, because, wherever Bosa lines up, I think Bosa will have his way with Patrick Paul. I think Patrick Paul has done a nice job filling in where he can, and he can, because of his stature, his size, he get away with a lot that other tackles can't, just because he's so massive. But a real savvy pro and a real quality player like Nick Bosa will absolutely take his lunch, and he'll do the same thing to Kendall Lamb. So if we're not getting Teron Armstead, we're gonna have a problem there. You're probably gonna have to double Bosa. You just can't you just can't go one-on-one with him very often, unless you're calling a quick play to the opposite side of the field that he's on. But because of that, I don't think you're going to get a lot of time to throw. Jalen Waddle is still not practicing. I don't think we're going to get Jalen Waddle in this game. So are we going to get the big Tyreek Hill game? I don't know, because I feel like Tyreek Hill is going to be running downfield routes, and I don't know that Tua is going to have enough time to throw. So I think you've got to be able to run the football, and you're probably looking at another game where Jonnu Smith is heavily involved. But then, if San Francisco's looking at that, they're saying, well, hey, maybe we take Jonnu Smith out of this game. Maybe we have Fred Warner pay a lot of attention to Jonnu Smith, and that takes him away. I think San Francisco's it provided they're healthy. I think San Francisco has all the answers to what Miami can throw at them offensively, unless Miami can actually win at the line of scrimmage. And that's something that Miami hasn't shown that they can do. And yeah, I think it's an upgrade to have Isaiah Wynn, if healthy, over Liam Eichenberg, but I don't know that that's going to be the difference in getting this running attack going. So I'm not feeling terribly confident. It's like I said last week going into the Texans game, I thought there was an opportunity there to get the running game going. But if they weren't able to get the running game going, they were going to have a lot of trouble. And I think that's going to be the same thing here. If they can't get the running game going, there's not going to be very much time to throw. If they're one-dimensional, mistakes are going to be made. Tua is going to get hit. Turnovers are going to happen.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think. And as we've seen in this last 3 years, anytime Mike McDaniel goes up against another one of these coaches who is, one of the trendy names, and Kyle Shanahan is, one of the big names, right? He almost always ends up getting out coached. I think with probably the one exception that you could make was the Rams game this year, which was is the outlier where, I think McDaniel had a good game and a good game plan, and it all worked out for the Dolphins. This is a game where I feel like the Dolphins are going to be shorthanded. And while the 49ers are likely to be very shorthanded as well, I think it's going to come down to that matchup of coaches and who has a better feel of what is going on game day, and who can get a feel of the game and try to figure out ways to coach their team over the line. And thus far, I just don't know that that's something that Mike McDaniel is going to be able to provide his team with, that little extra edge on game day, particularly when I think their offense could be very much outgunned in terms of their ability to control the line of scrimmage in this game.
Yeah, and to me, that's the difference between these two teams. As I said before, is that one of these teams was built to be strong in the trenches, and the other team was, as you like to say, was built to be light and fast. And generally, at this level, where everybody has to have a prerequisite of at least enough speed to be in this league, or at least strong enough. It's one thing when you're in college, if you're a team that is just light years faster than your opponent, and even if they're stronger, you can still beat them because you can run circles around them. In the pros, it doesn't work because everybody at this level has a certain prerequisite level of speed and athleticism. And so you can only be so much faster than your opponent. So if you're a little bit faster than your opponent, but they're world stronger than you, generally the stronger team is going to win, especially at this time of year. Although in Miami, I don't know that that matters.
So the other question about the Dolphins offense is whether Tua Tagovailoa can bounce back from the terrible game that he had last week in Houston. That is the other question. Typically speaking, Tua responds well to having a down performance. He typically bounces back. And especially with this game being at home, it's the final home game of the season. I would expect that we're going to get a little bit of a bounce back performance from Tua. But so much of the other stuff is going to play an important factor in this game. How much space are they going to have for their receivers? How many of their passes are going to be backwards passes or at the line of scrimmage or within a yard of the line of scrimmage? How much of their offense is going to be that, because he's got to get the ball out of his hands fast and he doesn't have room over the middle of the field because the 49ers excel at taking that sort of thing away? That's the big question. And I guess on Sunday, if Tua can find a way to deliver, even though San Francisco is going to be trying to take away everything he wants to do, I think that's going to go a long way to the Dolphins potentially finding a path to victory here.
Yeah, and this is one of those things where, look, everybody is kind of sick of the fact that the Dolphins are throwing a bunch of quick passes and a bunch of passes behind the line of scrimmage. And we want to see them air it out more, a la the 2022 Dolphins and the 2023 Dolphins, where they had so much success with the aerial attack down the field. But I don't necessarily know that this is the game to do it, especially if you're without Jalen Waddle. I think that first off, if you go back a couple years ago to when the Dolphins played San Francisco, it was San Francisco that really, between San Francisco and the Chargers, that really put the blueprint together on slowing down that downfield passing attack with the intermediate routes by dropping the linebackers back with such depth and keeping everything in front of them. And I expect that they're probably going to do the same thing again in this game. So I think where that leaves them potentially open is in the flat and underneath the quick, short passing game, which if the Dolphins can't get a running game going, that's their semblance of a running game, is that short passing game. So without Jalen Waddle against this defense, against those linebackers, I don't know that we're going to have, against those pass rushers, against Nick Bosa, you might not have that much time to throw. I don't think you're going to have a lot of opportunities to make big downfield plays. If Jalen Waddle doesn't play, Tyreek Hill becomes your downfield threat, and it becomes very easy to just say, hey, we're not going to let Tyreek Hill beat us. And so you've got to find other ways to beat them. I think things that have worked this year for the Dolphins is the underneath stuff to Jonnu Smith, the hitting Devon Achane in the flat. The quick screen game can work. I think that's kind of where Miami needs to have their success. So as frustrating as it is, I think that's ultimately what we're going to see more of. And I don't know that it's necessarily a bad thing. I think that's kind of how San Francisco is going to force Miami to play, and Miami's going to have to beat them with what they're giving them.
So that's, I think, the story on the offensive side of the ball for the Miami Dolphins. We're going to see what things will be like on the defensive side of the ball for the Miami Dolphins. But first, this. The DolphinsTalk.com podcast network is sponsored by Caneswear. Caneswear is the place to go for officially licensed apparel for the Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat, the Hurricanes, Florida Panthers, and all of the professional and college teams in South Florida. Looking for the latest jersey, a birthday gift, or the newest hat to hit the market of your favorite South Florida team? Check out Caneswear for their overwhelming selection of sports apparel. Located at 2655 South University Drive, Davie, Florida, Caneswear has it all. Not in South Florida? No worries. Visit Caneswear.com to shop their inventory from the comfort of your home, and they'll ship it to you. International fans, too. Caneswear.com is the spot that Miami fans shop. That's Caneswear.com. 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 This episode of the Same Old Dolphins Show is also brought to you by Mellow Seltzer, the seltzer that is taking America by storm. Mellow THC seltzer comes in wildberry, grapefruit, strawberry, mango, and half, which is lemonade and iced tea. It's a mix of madness, genius, and a pinch of chaos to bring you the best sips in the universe. With 5 milligrams of THC, Mellow is revolutionizing the way you unwind. Each sip is designed to gently lift your spirits and ground your senses. Go to mellowseltzer.com for information on how and where to purchase. Brain, we might have to have some Mellow Seltzer when we go hang out at Mike's house for the watch party on Sunday. That's going to be a lot of fun for the watch along, Dolphins, 49ers. I mean, and the thing is, if the game is a stinker, we're still going to be hanging out. We're still going to be talking. We're still going to be having pizzas and drinking Mellow Seltzers and having a good time. So we hope that you will join us for that. Again, you can join us for the watch along as long as you are a member of Dolphins Talk Extra. Head on over to patreon.com/DolphinsTalk today to get signed up. Brain, let's pivot to the other side of the football. San Francisco's offense has had its own share of problems this year with injury after injury after injury. They lost Trent Williams. It sounds like he is going to be out for the rest of the season. He sounds like he is unlikely to play in this one. Jalen Moore, their other tackle, is been limited the last couple of days. He's probably a little bit closer to likely to playing. But as we know, with this Shanahan style offense, it's based around having elite tackle play. Trent Williams gives the 49ers that. When he's not there, that offensive line has a hard time making up for it. But the 49ers injury problems haven't just been there. They lost Brandon Ayuk after signing him to a big contract earlier this season. So he's down for the year. Deebo Samuel just has not been the same. Juwan Jennings has stepped up nicely for the 49ers. And of course, they do have an incredible weapon and one of the best tight ends in the league in George Kittle. But in the running back conversation, they basically have not had Christian McCaffrey this season at all. He was out with the calf injuries for a really long time. And then as he recovered, I think he played a game and a half, 2 games maybe, before going down with another injury, and they're shutting him down for the season. So then they brought in Jordan Mason, and they were giving him the running back, the big share of running back carries. He goes down. Then they bring in Isaac Guerrero, and he's the guy getting all the carries. And now he is down and perhaps might miss this game on Sunday. So the 49ers have had a hard time staying healthy. And meanwhile, you got Brock Purdy back there doing everything he has, giving everything he's got to try to keep this offense running. And it's been kind of just fine. It has not been the dynamic, explosive San Francisco 49ers offense that we have been used to. The Dolphins on the defensive side of the ball, they are teasing that it's a possibility that we could get Bradley Chubb back this week. We'll see whether that is something that the Dolphins decide to do, knowing that that $10 million injury guarantee is out there, whether he plays next season for the Dolphins or not. So, Brain, how do you think this matchup works out for the Dolphins, with the Dolphins being banged up on defense? I mean, they had a good game. I think perhaps one of their best games of the season last week against a Houston offense that has been out of sorts. Can the Dolphins replicate that performance against a beat up San Francisco 49ers team?
I think they can. I think this is a San Francisco offense that's not quite as dynamic as that Houston offense. And that's not the most dynamic offense that they played in Houston. It's a little bit different from a quarterback perspective. On the one hand, CJ Stroud is a guy that's going to hang on to the ball a long time. He's not necessarily going to kill you with like quick processing and quick decisions and getting the ball out on time and timing and rhythm. Where he's going to kill you is just being able to extend plays and, make big time throws outside the pocket, off script, and you saw a little bit of that. But by and large, the Dolphins defense did a great job. This is going to be a different kind of challenge, but San Francisco, it's not just that their offensive line is banged up. It's that, they went out after all the drama in the offseason about, are they going to trade Brandon Ayuk? Are they going to extend Brandon Ayuk? They ended up extending him, and then he gets hurt. Deebo Samuel has been, in and out of the lineup and just does not seem like he is his regular self. And maybe it's the case of, he's lost a little bit of a step and he's sort of like a one-trick pony. Juwan Jennings has stepped up nicely, but it's not like this, hugely dynamic receiver. He's just a solid receiver. I think it'll be interesting to see how they continue to work in the rookie Ricky Pearsall. And then the running backs, like you mentioned, with Isaac Guerrero possibly missing time, I think you're going to see a committee between Patrick Taylor Jr. and Izzy Abanikanda. And I think based on what we've seen from this San Francisco running attack, is it almost seems like it doesn't matter who the running back is. They're going to put up numbers because they're just well coached on that. And even when the offensive line is banged up, they're just that well coached. I kind of have a hunch that Abanikanda is going to be the guy that gives Miami problems if he gets playing time because of his speed. And this was a guy
and because he used to be a Jet.
Well, yeah, I guess, but it's not like the Jets have given us very much trouble in recent years. But
fair.
He's a player that I liked coming out of college, out of Pittsburgh. And I just think it's a matter of him getting an opportunity. And this might be the week that he gets an opportunity. So we might be looking at the Izzy Abanikanda coming out party in this game. But truthfully, I think the Dolphins defense, as mid as they are, I think I think it was a very nice showing for them last week. I think they will sort of build off of that, and they will keep Miami in this game. And it's just going to be a matter of whether Miami's offense can live up to their end of the bargain. But even the defense, like, can they play a complementary football game? Like that's what it's going to come down to. I'm not expecting this defense to completely shut down San Francisco and hold them less than 20 points. But can you hold them to around 20, 23 points? And if you do, can the offense then do enough to get the win? That's the question.
That is, in fact, the question of whether or not this Dolphins defense can just complement the offense, and the offense can complement the defense, and the special teams can also just not make a huge mess of things. And if they can do that, maybe they'll be in with a shout. But Brain, I want to bring back a segment that we have not done on the show. I don't think at all this season. I think we've let it slip. We've let it go by the wayside. We need to bring it back. Because it's not because it's something that I want, but because it's something that the people want. So it's time, Brain. It's time for Bagel Talk. Are you ready for some Bagel Talk?
Are you ready for some bagels?
It is Bagel Talk time, baby. And what we mean by Bagel Talk is this is where I'm going to ask you what kind of bagel certain players on the San Francisco 49ers are. Are you ready?
I think so.
I'm going to start with the big cheese. I'm going to start with the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. I need to know, what kind of bagel is Kyle Shanahan?
All right. So let's talk about Kyle Shanahan as a coach. Been a very successful coach after a very successful stint as a coordinator in a couple of different places. And since taking over the San Francisco roster, he's gotten them to the Super Bowl. He's gotten them to the playoffs almost every season. where did they end up? I'm forgetting who was even in the Super Bowl last year.
Last year was Kansas City and San Francisco.
And San Francisco. So yeah, they were in the Super Bowl that year. I think they were in like the NFC title game once or twice in his tenure too. He's had a great run, but he hasn't gone over the edge yet. And it just seems like he's got everything that you need. He's got the know-how. He's got the experience. He's got the philosophy. Everything seems to be working, but he's just missing something. And so I'm trying to figure out what that is. And you know what it is? You know, these people that get the bagel sandwich and, you know, it doesn't matter whether it's a tuna salad, a whitefish salad, heck, even if it's like a Nova sandwich or whatever, or a deli sandwich, but then they scoop the bagel.
Oh,
and it's like, I get it. You're trying to lose some calories. And also maybe you like the way it kind of nestles into the bagel so you don't lose as much of the meat. But at the end of the day, you're losing some of the substance of the bagel.
yes.
That's Kyle Shanahan. He is a scooped bagel sandwich.
Oh, a scooped bagel sandwich. Kyle Shanahan. Any kind of particular type of bagel? Or does it not matter?
I don't know that it necessarily matters. He can be any, he's what Mike McDaniel doesn't or tries to be. He can be kind of multiple, but at the end of the day, he's still missing a little bit of something. And what he's missing is that part of the bagel that was scooped up.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I like that. I like that. Let's move on into the players now. And let's start with that guy that we just talked about a little bit ago, Deebo Samuel. What kind of bagel is Deebo Samuel?
So Deebo Samuel kind of jumped right onto the screen, was something very different, very exciting. And, you know, last year started to get overshadowed a little bit with the emergence of Brandon Ayuk. And then this year, between injuries and just underperforming, it seems like maybe people have kind of gotten over Deebo Samuel a little bit. And so a couple of years ago, there was this trend with the bagels where they would take all the cream cheese and the lox and everything that goes on it, and then they would chop it all up and mix it all up and put it in the bagel. And it was like, in theory, this makes sense. But then when you go to bite it, then like it's all like kind of falling off the side. It just doesn't work as well as just your traditional lox and bagel. And so that's Deebo Samuel. He was a trendy bagel, that chopped bagel. And, you know, now people are just over it and they're realizing, a little bit overrated.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Wow, that is quite a take on Deebo Samuel. All right, well, let's go to Nick Bosa. This ought to be interesting.
I mean, Nick Bosa is everything that you want in a bagel. He's not flashy, but he does everything well. He's reliable. You know, he's not going to necessarily have all the bells and whistles, but you know, this is a lightly toasted garlic bagel with cream cheese, Nova, onions, capers. You don't need the tomato. You don't need, some people put bacon on this stuff. Like, you don't need that. This is just tried and true. He's got everything that you need. This is just your standard Nova bagel sandwich.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. That's solid.
Yeah,
Very solid.
He's elite. He's just, there's nothing wrong with him. He doesn't need to be changed. He is what he is. Never disappoints.
Love that. All right, last one. Brock Purdy. What kind of bagel is Brock Purdy?
Okay. So here's what I think. I think Brock Purdy is a guy that kind of got slept on. Nobody really knew what to expect from him. And then, he just kind of gradually, steadily got better and better. But it got to the point where maybe he's became like, he went from being underrated to being overrated. And so what I'm going to say is that Brock Purdy is an Asiago cheese bagel.
Oh,
which is to say that, like, not a lot of places have it. It's basically started as like an Einstein Brothers bagel.
Yeah, it is. It's definite Einstein Brothers. You can get the Asiago cheese bagel.
Yeah. And it's like, at times you're like, well, do I really want a cheese bagel with like cream cheese? And it's like, it doesn't really sound great, but then it kind of works. And then you like, well, you toast it, you get the toasted cheese. Maybe you put a little butter on it. And it's like, it's like the bagel version of sort of like a focaccia. And so it kind of gained popularity. It gained some steam, but now I don't think that it really is like at the end of the day, it gets very tiresome because it's just cheese on cheese. And so I think it was slept on for a little bit. It rose to popularity and now people are over it. And that's Brock Purdy. Asiago cheese bagel.
Cheese on man. Cheese. An Asiago cheese bagel. Okay. Well, let us know in the comments. What do you think? What kind of bagel do you think Kyle Shanahan, Deebo Samuel, Nick Bosa, and Brock Purdy are? Let us know in the comments. We want to hear from you. All right, Brain. It is now time then to release our takes. It is time for hashtag one hot take. This is where we ask you for one hot take for the game coming up on Sunday. So if you're watching us live on the I'm a Miami Dolphin fan Facebook page or the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel, let us know in the comments. Tell us, what is your one hot take for 49ers at Dolphins on Sunday? I got a little cute with my pick last week. I've learned from my mistakes. I'm going back to Old Reliable. And Old Reliable is an Alec Ingold receiving touchdown. That is my hot take for Sunday. It's finally going to happen in his final home game of the season. Alec Ingold will have a receiving touchdown. Let's hear from some of our friends on the Dolphins Talk Extra Discord channel. We got one from Fish Pilot, which this is fantastic. He says, Coach McWiener has a total meltdown and they have to chase him around with the butterfly nets. I mean, that is a hot take. It is a very hot take. There's no denying the temperature of that take. It's really tremendous. Alex Pena joins in. He says, hot take. Chop Robinson, sack, forced fumble, scoop fumble, and run back for 6, all in the same play. I like that one from Alex Pena. And then Jamie V comes in. McDaniel makes it to the fourth quarter, 2-minute warning with all of his timeouts. That's a pretty hot take.
That's a scorching take.
That is a very hot take right there from Jamie V. Patrick Mullen says the team that made Brock Purdy a starter, that's the Miami Dolphins, by the way, makes him look like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Patrick is predicting the 49ers to run rampant over the Dolphins on Sunday. And finally, Mr. McDolphin says, one hot take, Snoop Huntley comes into the game. Tua season is over. Yikes. Yikes a hootie. Let's see what we got over on the social medias. Somerset Tim says we get a pick 6. The Keeper says it doesn't matter. We've got Eddie S. on Blue Sky says garbage game. Dolphins win 9-7. I'll take it. Matthew Platisha says chop strip sack. Dolphin just says her one hot take is Nick Bosa. That may be a thirsty tweet. I'm not sure, but that may be a thirsty tweet from Doll. Let's see. Kevin Dern says elimination. Here's a hot take from Eddie DeJesus. Nick Bosa strip sacks Brock Purdy and tosses the strip to Chop. I don't know how that is even possible. So that's scorching. That's scorching somehow. How about this? Wiggler81 Nick says Chop pick 6. Ben Gada says the 49ers are down to their 4th running back. They'll probably still run for over 150 yards against our defense. Yikes. Holy moly. Let's see. Twitsy says another loss. UC Funke says the 49ers are missing their top players and they will still beat the brakes off of the Finns. David Nastali, this is not a hot take, but he says Tua will throw a bubble screen. And this is one from Tony DeLoya. Says 3 games left, and then Poyer, and he shows he tweets a GIF of a golfer throwing another golfer into the water trap, which is tremendous. Here's one from Hawksbows fan. Either the offense, the defense, or special teams will lose us the game.
Not so hot of a take, but
no,
probably
not really
accurate.
So, all right, Brain, let me toss it over to you. What is your one hot take for 49ers at Dolphins on Sunday? And then we'll go and see how the ones are coming in the comments here.
Look, no Jalen Waddle in this game. Tyreek Hill's going to get a ton of attention. River Craycraft receiving touchdown.
Oh, okay. All right. I like it. All right, here we go. We got some interesting ones in the chat. Here we go. From Jordan Murray, Ingold passing touchdown to Tua. That's a hot take. Mike Sterner, I don't know how hot this is, but he says Kittle 2 touchdowns. Renegade 76, Sanders makes the longest field goal in Dolphins history. What is the longest field goal?
I feel like it's Pete Stoyanovich,
59?
like 58-yarder.
Didn't Sanders hit a 60-yarder?
Did he?
Look that up. And then John Gwelly says, hot take, our special teams makes a damn play penalty free. Here we go. So thanks to everybody who is commenting along, sharing your one hot takes live with us during the show. If you're watching after the fact on demand or listening on demand, let us know in the comments, what is your hashtag one hot take for 49ers at Dolphins on Sunday? Brain, do you have an answer on the longest field goal in Miami Dolphins history?
No, I'm still working on it.
Still working on it. Okay. Well, then I'm going to go into predictions because it is prediction time. Oh, wait, we got one last hot take here that just came in. This is quite a scenario here, but I'm going to read it to you. Nova Fin fan, Tua only throws 1 pick. We run for a first down on a 3rd and 2. We only run 6 screen plays. We lose. Nova Fin fan. So there we are. Well, let's get into prediction time. Let us know in the chat, what is the final score prediction for you, Dolphins, Niners on Sunday? Who is going to get the win? Brain, while you're looking up that information on the field goal, I'll just go first with my prediction. I think that we're going to get an ugly game. I think both teams are going to struggle. And I don't know what the line is on this game in terms of the total. Like, I don't know what the total is on this game, but I think whatever it is, probably you're safe taking the under. And I think, as much as I would love to sit here and tell you that I think the Dolphins are going to get a win here today, I just don't think they're going to. I think they're going to end up losing this game. Their playoff hopes will be officially dashed, and the San Francisco 49ers will leave Hard Rock Stadium with a 19-16 victory over the Miami Dolphins.
I like it. I believe, hold on a second. I do believe that the longest field goal in Dolphins history might still be the Stoyanovich 58-yarder. I don't know. I'm having a hard time finding it, but if anybody can find that in the chat, let us know. I I think this is going to be a close game. I think that San Francisco is the tougher team, but I think they're banged up. And I think that they're susceptible. It's not as strong a defense as it used to be, although they looked very good. With the return of Greenlaw and Bosa. I think the Dolphins have their issues, but I think Tua will bounce back and they will have some answers. I think this game goes to overtime.
Oh, really?
I think this is an overtime thriller, 23-23 in overtime. And as it's happened several times this year already, the Dolphins are going to lose on a walk-off field goal. San Francisco wins this one 26-23.
Oh, so we both have the Dolphins losing by a field goal. Excellent. So, all right. Well then.
Oh, and Renegade 76. I don't know. I haven't fact checked this, but Fish Pilot seems to agree as well that Dan Carpenter holds the record for the Dolphins having made a 60-yarder. And that could have only been in like a very short period of time. Carpenter was the kicker here for, I think, like 3 seasons back in like the Sperano years.
Yeah.
2010
His
against the
career
Browns.
long is, in fact, 60 yards. And he hit it in 2010. So, yeah, that is got to be the longest. Dan Carpenter. There it is. So, there it is. All right. Well, there it is. There's our takes. The Miami Dolphins, we have them losing officially to the 49ers on Sunday, and the official playoff hopes going out the window, which means that they would play the final 2 games of this season fully playing out the string. And it's going to be a very different kind of end of the season for the Miami Dolphins this year. We'll see how it is. Either way, we will be with you live Sunday on the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel, but only for Dolphins Talk Extra subscribers. So if you want to get involved, you want to hang out and have fun with us while you're watching the game, watch it along with us. We're all going to be in the same room. So it's not going to be like some of these other watch-alongs that we've done where we've been trying to sync our TVs to one another and trying to do that. We're all going to be in the same room. Me, Aaron, and Mike all sitting together on Sunday afternoon watching the game. So come join us. Sign up, patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. I'll even put the link in the comments right now so that you can easily just click it and sign up right now. We'd be happy to have you join us. There's going to be a lot of great content coming your way the rest of the season and all through the offseason, building up to the start of next season. So come on over, hang out at Dolphins Talk Extra. We'll be back Sunday, and then Aaron and I will be back Monday reacting to the game with our post-game reaction show, which is going to be a lot of fun. So thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for being part of the Dolphins Talk family. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to follow us. And we'll see you Sunday. Take care of yourselves and each other. And as always, go Dolphins!
McWiener.